Hello, hello, and welcome to PD and Your PJs. I'm Julie from Seesaw. I'm so excited that you're here to join us tonight for How We Seesaw in first grade. And mostly, I'm just honored that you would take time out of your busy week of school to join us to talk more about Seesaw. I want to let you know that we have an awesome presenter, Michelle, here with us, and she's going to take it over in just a minute. This webinar is not necessarily about creating an account in Seesaw or setting up your class for the first time. So if you are in need of that sort of information, I wanted to make sure you had access to the training that we sometimes offer called Brand New to Seesaw for grades pre-K through 2. My colleague Angela conducts that webinar. You can sign up for a live session of that, and you can see the link at the bottom of the screen there. These slides are coming your way later, and you can click on that link. But I actually just took the video of that presentation and embedded it into the slides. So later, if you'd like to review it or watch it, it's there for you. You'll get the slides, and you can open that and watch that at your own convenience. I'm so excited, though, for Michelle to take it over tonight. She has so many awesome things to share with you. How's it going, Michelle?
It's going great. Glad to be here.
Okay, I'm going to make you the presenter, and then Michelle's going to take it over, and she's going to share awesome tips and tricks for you for using Seesaw in first grade.
All right, so I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Michelle Fleechuk, and I teach first grade in Green Bay, Wisconsin. This will be my 18th year teaching. Most of it has been in first grade, but I've also dabbled in kindergarten through fifth grade, so kind of been here and there. But again, most of my years have been in first grade. I would love to connect with you on Twitter. My contact is at mfleechuk1, so please touch base and let's connect on Twitter. If you have other things to talk about after the presentation, I'd love to hear it, and always love to get the new ideas that everyone's coming out with. There's always great things coming through Facebook and Twitter. So I'm just really excited to share my love tonight for Seesaw with you guys. I believe this is going to be my 5th year using Seesaw, and always just kind of learning new things each year, and love the new things that they come up with every year, especially the new activities. So this is just going to be talking about what I do in first grade, and probably some things that you already know about, some new ideas hopefully that you'll walk away with. I'm going to start just with a really great story that really shows how much I love using Seesaw. I was the first teacher in my school that used Seesaw, and probably, I think, even in my district. I'm in a fairly big district, but kind of got the ball rolling when Seesaw first started to come out, and have been trying to gradually get more people in my building to use it. And this year, kind of a fun, interesting story was that some second grade teachers, or one second grade teacher, came up to me after open house, the first few days of school, and shared that some students that were in his class this year, that were in my class last year, had kind of begged him to use Seesaw this year because they liked it so much last year in first grade. So I think that's just a testament to how much students love using Seesaw, how much parents love it, because there's also some parents that were really hoping that the second grade teachers would continue to use Seesaw with their children too. So I know as a parent, I have a third grader, is my youngest, and his teacher's also using it this year as well. So just lots of love for Seesaw. So I'm going to just start with some basic things just to kind of consider before you start working with students. There are some things just on your end that you might want to think about. And in the student settings, so if you go under the little gear, the wrench in the top corner there, and students, you will notice that there are a few things that you want to decide if you want to have available for your students or not. And one of those things is whether or not you want students to be able to see each other's work. So that is an option that you can turn on or off. I personally like to keep it on I think it's pretty valuable to have students see what other students in the classroom are doing. So I always keep that one on myself, but again, that's a personal choice. Um, New items requiring approval, I always keep that one on, but again, you decide what works best for you. I like to make sure that what's going out to their journals, to their families, is approved by me beforehand, but it is nice to have that option either way. And then the enable edit item editing. So if you have something, not necessarily an activity, but maybe it's just something else that students are doing, and maybe they need to fix something or edit, you can turn that item on for editing, and they're able to make changes before or after they send it to you for approval. So just a few things to think about. And then of course the student sign-in mode. The one-to-one devices is how I have mine logged in at this time, because I am one-to-one. If you're not one-to-one devices, you might have that set to shared devices, or maybe you're using an email account as well. So the family settings, again, this is something you can turn on and off. I've heard some teachers saying that maybe they're not ready to have that access to families, so you can have that on or off. There's information on how to invite your families. If you click on that, you can get the email to send out information for them to connect. You can also get that QR code to have them connect that way. And then having that approval, again, just kind of like what we said for the settings for students, to have that pending family approval, which I always, again, make sure that I approve. There's a few links here that you'll have at the bottom. So this one I thought was really nice and educational for families. I put it out at open house, back to school night here. Just a nice description of what Seesaw is. I had a parent last year that, when I was probably for the second time asking her if she would sign up for a Seesaw account for her child, had made a comment, no, I don't let my son go on the iPad at home. And this really kind of talks about how that family account is really for them to see what their child is doing during the school day. So it kind of just gives you nice description of what Seesaw is, and then some really nice directions on how to connect to their parent accounts. This year, I think the biggest questions that I had from families were, if they had an account last year, how did they connect this year to their child's new one? And it says if you had an account, they can go up to, or log into their account, go up to the top left, click on their icon, and add a new student journal. So I believe that is in here too. I believe that's in there as well. So I just thought that was kind of a nice letter that I had out at open house. It really gives some good description of that. And then Heather Miller made this cute little family video. I'm just going to play just a little bit of it here. Her daughter made it.
Seesaw Family app. There's 3 parts to the family app: the home, journal, and the inbox. This is the home part. This is where you see what you kids posted on Seesaw.
So just kind of a cute little video there. You'll have that link on the bottom if you want to share that with my families. I just sent that out as a little announcement to my families. And I think they just really liked seeing kind of on their end what it looks like, because I think as a teacher, we don't always know what it's going to look like on the family's end. So I think that was just nice to see it in that way. See if I can make this bigger again. I apologize for that. So the next thing to really think about, again, before you even have really students get into it, is the folders. I know when my first years, we didn't have that access yet, but once they started using folders, I didn't use it right away with students, but now that I've kind of dug into the folders a little bit, and really taught my students how to use the folders, and made it pretty simple. Just having the literacy folder, the math folder. I'm from STEM elementary school, so I have just a STEM that includes, every content area that we're going to use, technology, if there's engineering projects, it's all in that one folder. And then I like to have this purple wow work folder. So it's just a folder where students can decide when they're doing something that they're putting into their Seesaw journal, if they are just really, really proud and excited about it, they can stick it into that folder. And those are really great to pull up for conference time and things like that. So the arrow right here is, I saw somebody last year that said they made a folder, and I'm not exactly sure what they had called it, but I'm calling it my saved end of the year folder. And this is just a nice place to store those pictures, those videos, those posts that you want to maybe keep for the end of the year if you do one of those end of the year slideshows. I do a lot of donors choose projects, so I just like to have it in one spot. So if I need to collect some pictures or save some different things to share later on in the year, I kind of have it in that folder. So that's kind of my folder to save things, and I could also tell the students also to put it in there. So this is where I have their first day of school pictures, and when we go on field trips, I'm going to plop some pictures and things into there. So it's just a nice organization tool for me. So think about how you'd like to use folders in your class. I love the idea that you can have the different colors, because in first grade you could say put it in the yellow literacy folder or the orange math folder. I've seen people also use the different emoji icons so that there's maybe a picture of a book next to literacy or in front of literacy. So that's kind of nice as well for those younger learners. So before you welcome your families to join Seesaw and have their family account, it's always really a great idea to have some items posted so that when they sign up, they see something. Otherwise, they might be a little confused. And then I also just think it just really piques their interest right off the bat. So a few things that I put in even before our open house, before the first day of school, because I really try to get my families logged in at open house. I would print out those pages with the QR code, and I try to just get as many as I can that first open house night, because I'm there to answer questions that they might have. If I don't connect them that time, then it's usually that first week of school, I'm sending the email and I'm making those contacts. So right now, I have 19 students this year. I have 3 that I'm still yet to have families connected, but 16 is still a pretty good percentage, and I'm just gonna keep working on trying to get those last 3, because it's really nice to have 100% of your families connected. I know not every year is it possible, but it's nice if you can get that. So I like to send out maybe a link to our class website. So that's a nice thing that you can do through the announcement feature for your families. I always do a little brochure giving different things about our classroom, snack, homework, my contact information. So if you want to do a paper copy, but then you could also send that out through your announcement through Seesaw, that's kind of a nice bonus. I like to read a book to the students that they can listen to before the first day of school, and I always usually just choose the First Day Jitters. So it basically just kind of looks like this. I put a little caption on the bottom, wait to watch this with your child until after open house, or even just the night before school.
Hi class, I am going to share with you a story that I like to read the first day, and maybe you want to read it before school starts. It's called First Day Jitters by Julie Danberg. And
so you can see, a really easy thing, took me maybe 5 minutes, nothing real professional about it, just getting out a book and reading it to your class. But I guarantee it will put students a little bit at ease and give them that real personalized feeling of who you are as a teacher before even they get into your classroom that first day. The other thing I like to do is I like to take a video of what our classroom looks like, and I'll share that with you just a little bit here.
All right, here is our classroom tour 2017. This is our door, so when you see the pineapples, you know that you are in the right spot. I'm going to just take you around the room a little bit, show you around. So when you come in the morning, you will be giving me your folder, your take-home folder, and I will put it here in your mailbox area so you can see kind of where your name is.
So again, you can see just, you know, some of those warm, welcoming things gives your students some questions or answers to questions that they might have, you know, when they come in your classroom. What is it going to look like? Where am I going to put my take-home folder? Things of that nature. So it's just something really easy that you can do, and you can send those things out before school even starts. And I think that's really it's gonna get those parents loving Seesaw right from the start. So this year, unfortunately, I have not been able to get my hands on the student devices in our school yet. They're just going through getting those ready for students, and so I've had to kind of ease into Seesaw a little bit different this year. It's taken a little longer than I've been used to in the past. So one thing you can do, maybe you don't have one-to-one devices in your building. Maybe you just have a few. Maybe you just have your phone. And that's kind of what I've been doing these past few weeks. I've just been using my phone with the Seesaw app and then quickly taking pictures of things that students are doing, putting it on their journal. We did a summer walk. I did some videos. I did some photographs, sending those out either as family announcements or putting those again onto their student journal. So that's just a nice way to ease into it. If you're just trying to get everything going and you're not really sure that you want to have the whole class doing things right away, or maybe you don't have that option, that's always kind of a nice way to start. And then again, kind of going along with that is sending out family announcements. Like the welcome things that I just shared, those are nice ways to get your families involved and have that homeschool connection starting right off the bat. I love this idea because I always hear some teachers say, you know, I only have 3 iPads or 3 Chromebooks available. And you really can use Seesaw very easily with students with just a few devices. Set up a station or have some kind of a rotation. I've done that during our literacy independent time, during math time. We do something called workplaces, and you can easily just have 3 students at a time using Seesaw and then rotate throughout the week. That's a nice way to ease into it. And then I love this last one is just looking for a buddy class that knows how to use Seesaw really well. So I last year partnered up with a kindergarten class after my students had been using it for a few months, and the kindergarten teacher was interested in getting started using Seesaw with her students. And we had already done some reading buddy things, so my students were really familiar with her classroom and her students. So we kind of got together a few different times and taught her class how to use Seesaw. So it worked really well. If you have that opportunity to find that buddy classroom, maybe you have a 2nd grade, maybe it's another 1st grade that's been using it, and just have those students buddy up, that works really well. I've also been thinking about having some of my 2nd grade students from last year come down and be the big helpers for our 1st grade as well. So that's kind of a nice thing to do, have a few extra hands on deck when you're first learning how to use it. So some early examples that I've been using, again, kind of just based off of, I don't have our whole class situated with devices at this time, but I really wanted to get started. I really wanted families to see the benefit. I really wanted students, because I'm getting so many students lately saying, Mrs. Fleechak, can you take a picture of this? Can I put this on Seesaw? So I just want to keep that excitement going. So some early things that I've done right on the first day of school, I'm sure you've all did it. You all probably took first day of school pictures. Here's an example of one of my little cuties here. I love that. Again, I put it right into that end of the year folder. So I know at the end of the year, if I'm doing a slideshow, I can grab that picture really easily, and it goes right to our families. So I know as a mom, those first few days can be kind of stressful. And if you can get a notification with a picture of your son or daughter, and you can see, wow, look at that wonderful smile, they're having a great first day. That really is a great thing to see. Maybe some of you have seen this hula hoop game on Facebook, and that's where I had gotten the idea. So basically, it is a bunch of hula hoops. Turn the volume off here while you see. So we had two teams, one on each side, and they would hop through the hula hoops until they met in the middle, and they'd have to do rock, paper, scissors to see who stayed in the hoops and who had to go all the way back to their team's line at the end of the line. Super fun. I had a lot of parents comment, wow, it looks like a fun activity. It was a great first week get to know you game. They learned a lot of manners and just getting along with each other. So it's just kind of a fun way to send some of those things to your families really easily, you know. So that's another activity. So just even taking some pictures of things that you're doing in your class and getting those sent home. The last example here is I always do what kind of scientist do you want to be? And they do it in their STEM notebooks, but a lot of times you want it in a STEM notebook or things like that, but you also want to share it with families. So it's really easy and fast. Just take a picture, send it off to families, and they can see what their child had put. So yeah, so just some early examples there. And then getting your students started. So here are some things I always think about myself, and I think as new teachers using Seesaw, or even if you've used it for a while, think about where in your classroom you want to post your QR codes for students to log in. I always do 2 or 3 spots because it's quicker for them to log in and get signed in and stay signed, get their iPads ready to go. So I post it maybe in the back room, in the front room, maybe one other place, and practice that signing in quickly. So we always have to just even practice lining up and going one at a time, no pushing and shoving, things of that nature. I like to model one tool at a time, just kind of gradually getting going with that. Once they do the first few, it goes pretty fast, but just not overwhelming and doing too much at a time. And then decide where they're going to work. So I've seen a lot of people lately wondering about how to keep that noise level down if they're all recording or doing a video at the same time. And it's definitely something to think about. What I've talked to my students about is moving around the classroom. I usually let a few go out to the hallway, but just kind of putting them all over in the classroom so you're not all at the carpet area, you're not all at their tables. And then I think that cuts down a lot on the noise level. And then having a finish up signal. I kind of just like to, I don't like to be a voice on their videos. And if I hear a recording in the background and I hear myself giving the quiet signal or counting down or things like that, I know parents probably don't appreciate that. So just having up a finish up signal, maybe something that is really quiet, that if you hear it on somebody's video, it's not that big of a deal. I usually just do, maybe a clap or something of that nature. Then they know they've got to finish up their video or finish up their item and then put their iPads back and come back to our area. So the photo tool, I think, is a great place to start. I love to do a selfie emotions kind of project here. And you could see this student had kind of a funny, silly face there. So really easy way to start with your students. If you're doing some social emotional learning, it's an easy one to add to that. Some other ideas are let your students pick their favorite place in the classroom and share that. Or if you have a cool down area with different cool down tools, I have those. They can pick their favorite one. They could take a picture of a new friend in the classroom. They could take a picture of something that they did or something that they made, and maybe you're hanging it up in the hallway and they can't take it home right away that day, so they can still take a picture of it and share. I've had students during our math workplaces, they're building towers with pattern blocks and things like that, or Unifix cubes, and they want to share those things with their family. So they want to have pictures to send home to share, which is great. I'm glad that they want to share what they're doing, and I'm sure their families enjoy it as well. The next tool that I usually go on to is the video tool. I have, I'll kind of share this one with you. You can take a look at it later. So I do a magic milk science experiment, and I want the families to kind of see what the experiment was, because a lot of students might do that experiment at home, and it's a pretty easy thing to try, and so they'll know the different materials and ingredients that we used. So I just take a video of us performing the experiment at school. This was a great little video that we did during our math time. So here's one of my students. The first few weeks, our math center areas are pretty basic things, dominoes, Unifix cubes, things of that nature. And a lot of times students aren't always thinking about how they can use them to further their math learning. But this student really had a great math talk.
What did you do with the dominoes today? Can you explain that?
I did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Wow, that's just like our popsicles today, isn't it?
So you can see there that he was really connecting it. We had talked about counting by twos, and he had done some further thinking with those dominoes. So I thought that was a great tool, not only to show to his parents, but then when we had our math share time, I showed that to my other students in the class to give them an idea of what they could do the next day during those math center times. Here are some examples of some drawing projects that we've done just with the drawing tool, which again is a pretty easy tool to get your students started with. We start with a content unit about the sun, so they just draw the sun. They can practice writing the word, and then if they're using the microphone, they can record some facts that they know about the sun. Last year for Global Read Aloud, we did Kuala Lu was one of the books that we talked about. So this was just a really easy comprehension activity where the student just wrote about their favorite part and then added some writing and some recording of what her favorite part was. Easy word work activity. So if you're doing some word sorts, you have C, you have H, you have CH. Yes, you can create your own Seesaw activity, but this sometimes, if you're on the fly and you're just thinking about it as you go, students can really do this pretty easily as well, as create that sort. It might not look as nice and pretty, but that's kind of an easy way to do it. And then math, this was an example. We do a lot with our number racks and dominoes in the beginning of the year. So this was a student that drew a domino, but then also did the addition equation that went with it. So more tools to try. So the camera roll is really helpful if you are using iPads, and it would be great to do a lot of app smashing. I like to take some screenshots of things that we do on Scratch Junior, because you can't save those things that they're creating except for doing a screenshot. So that's a really nice way to be able to share and save their work. The Math Geoboard app or Number Rack, if you're using any of those apps with some of those virtual manipulatives on your iPad and devices, you can take screenshots and send those through Seesaw to add to their journal. Epic Books for Kids, of course, is a great app to use along with Seesaw to do some app smashing there. They could take a picture of a book, they can do some annotating, they could do a book snap with that as well, and send that right through the camera roll right into Seesaw. The note tool, I really like to use that one during our writer's workshop, just to kind of spruce things up and give students a little something different and new to do. And then the link, some ideas for that one, if you subscribe to Mystery Science, which is a great science website, you can send the link to your students through Seesaw, and then they can rewatch different mysteries and things like that at home, or again during your class time. If you have a Google Doc, it's really nice to send that through. And then first grade students are not always great about getting to different websites. So if you have a website to get your students to, you could send it as a link through Seesaw. They could click on it through their Seesaw account. Kind of a lifesaver there. So We all love that Seesaw has a new activities feature, and not only that, but the huge activities library. So it's pretty much my lifesaver. Why reinvent the wheel a lot of times? So what I love to do is just go into the Seesaw activities. If you click on the green plus sign, and you can browse the activity library. So they have lots of things just for first grade teachers, and then you can also do a search for different things. Some of my favorite things, I love this rainbow writing for high frequency words by Sarah Melko. So she basically has it ready for you, and you can change it up pretty easily from one word that you're doing to another word. So I like to find those things that are really easy. You could switch it up from week to week, and you don't have to reteach the students what to do. They'll know what to do, and it provides really valuable practice. Another activity, so I like to think of our classroom expectations. We're doing a lot this year in my building with growth mindset. Of course, we have PBIS and just always talking about rules, social emotional growth, and setting goals. So this was an activity that you can click on that I created just with our Scholastic News. Just taking a screenshot basically of that inside, and they can be checking off ways to be polite. What ways do we want to be polite? So just a really easy activity that you could create. And there's lots and lots of activities in that library that go along with growth mindset and things of that nature as well. And then finally, for math, so we just last week made our own number racks. And what better way to share our learning than to create an activity where you just want the students to share their math talk. What do you know about your math rack? Tell everything you know about it. So that would be a great thing that you could do as an activity, or really any math thing that you're working on in class. That math talk is such an easy thing to add into your Seesaw journals. So that's kind of all I have. Again, thank you for being here. And if you have any questions, here's my contact information for you. And we'll see here if we have any time for questions. I love to see if you guys are still sticking around, if you have some questions for us.
Michelle, that was wonderful. I learned so much, and like I just can think of so many ideas now that I want to share with the elementary teachers in my kids' school. So very cool. And I love that picture of us that you had on the previous slide.
Yeah,
So
I had to add that in.
It was
That
wonderful.
Was Connect was awesome.
I know that it's great memories and great to see that picture. I have a few questions coming in, and I just want to remind you, if you're listening, to go ahead and keep typing in those questions. We can stay on the line for a few more minutes. So Teresa is asking for a little more explanation about what is number rack.
Oh, so number rack is what we use for kind of recognizing numbers to 20. We also use it for adding and subtracting. So there is an app called, I believe it's just called Number Rack, and I believe there's also a web-based version. So I think if you would just do a search for Number Rack, that would come up. But that's really what our district does to talk about number ID and subitizing, things of that nature, and adding and subtracting.
Okay, that's really helpful. And Michelle is adding in some context too. She said they call number rack reckon recs. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but maybe that's like
Yep, you're right. That is another term that some call it. Yes, it's a math learning center app and also website. So if you are looking for that, they have lots of great math manipulative type apps and websites, and they work really nicely when you're app smashing with Seesaw.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad you were able to clarify that. Okay, Deanne is asking about where to get the class QR code. And Deanne, I can give you a little bit of info, and then Michelle can clarify too. If you mean like for where do students sign in, you're looking for the button that says plus students, and that's kind of in the bottom, sort of towards the right-hand side of your journal view. Like when you're looking at your Seesaw class, looking in the journal view, you'll see the button that says plus students and then plus families. So then from there, you can print your QR sign-in poster, if that's what you're talking about. As far as like getting a QR code on a student's post, you're going to click those three dots of any student item there at the bottom right, and then you can print a QR code from there. Okay, I'm reading some more questions, Michelle. Here, let me see. Actually, what you're getting, Michelle, is just lots of thanks and compliments. So
Oh,
you're getting
perfect.
a lot
Thank
of good
you.
feedback. Okay, so Michelle is asking if you could use Educreations and import into Seesaw, and I think the answer is yes. Do you use that, Michelle? I mean, I think whatever
Mm,
you make in Educreations can save to your camera roll, like if you're using
yeah,
an iPad. So
yeah.
anything that can go, yeah, go ahead.
I don't personally use that app. But yeah, I'm sure. I feel like anything, if you use Book Creator, things like that, they all, I haven't seen much that doesn't.
I know. Yeah,
So
it's been several years since I've been in Educreations, but I think, I think that saves the video to the camera roll. So anywhere that it's on your device, it can go in Seesaw. And remember, a photo, a video, a link can go right into Seesaw. So that's how you can usually take anything that you create in any other app and share to Seesaw. So Hannah is asking a related question, just probably for some clarification about app smashing. Hannah, when we talk about app smashing, we're usually meaning that you start in another app and create a product that then you then you share in Seesaw. So
hmm
I just muted to clear my throat. So like if you created something in Shadow Puppet or Pic Collage or Book Creator or Educreations, then you would, after you make it in another app, then you save and share it in Seesaw. So that's probably like what we're thinking of when we're talking about app smashing in this context.
Yes.
Okay, so Tracy wonders how you can use the note tool in Seesaw for Writer's Workshop.
So what I do is, um, some days I just give my students the opportunity, instead of doing the paper and pencil booklets that we usually work on, they get to just go into Note and type up their stories that way. So I don't do it all the time, because I know they can probably get lots more like handwritten than typed necessarily. But I really like those students that maybe are iffy about writing. It just kind of breaks it up and gives them a little something a little more engaging and exciting for them. So it's just kind of typing up their story in the Note instead of paper and pencil.
Okay, perfect. Christina is saying that she missed the names of some of the apps we were talking about. So I can say some again, kind of slowly and deliberately. We don't have them typed on any one slide here. I know you're going to get these slides and the recording, so maybe
Yeah.
you can review. I think we were talking about Number Rack and Rick and Racks, and then we were talking about Educreations, that starts with an EDU, and
Yep.
then Shadow Puppet is one that I mentioned,
Yep.
Pic Collage, Book Creator. Did we talk about anything else, Michelle? I wasn't reading through the questions.
I added Epic Books for Kids, where they
Oh,
could
right,
take
right,
a
right. Okay.
screenshot. And then also Scratch Junior, if you use that for coding at all.
Good call. Good call. Okay, so were you saying something along the lines of screen mashing? Was that with Epic Books? Somebody's
Um,
asking about that. Or maybe it's just app
with
smashing.
app smashing, yeah. I think I said
Okay,
that with
so
Epic Books, yeah.
Okay, so Epic Books is another good one. That's a good point. So for app smashing, Christina, you're not really in two apps at the same time. You're creating in one app and then saving that link or that photo or that video usually to the device and then uploading to Seesaw.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think we probably got all of those then, Christina. Let me know. You can type in another question, Christina, if we need to clarify anything there. You are welcome. Okay, Jill is asking about Seesaw for messaging. Yeah, I can clarify a little bit of that, Jill, because I just did a family communication with Seesaw webinar earlier this afternoon. I was doing the one for grades 6 through 12, but Angela has offered it already once for grades pre-K through 2. So in your Seesaw class, you probably are in the journal view most of the time. That's where students are creating and posting. But if you go to that inbox tab, you can send announcements to all families, or you can privately message back and forth with parents. So it's really helpful for that. If you have more questions about that, Jill, just go ahead and type them in. Sarah Malco, Clea is asking about the name of Sarah. You mentioned her for one of her resources. I think, Clea, I'm just going to type her name in for you so that when you see this answer, you'll see exactly how it's spelled. She's a Seesaw Superstar too.
Yeah, and I know she has lots of things in the activities library as well.
Yes, and you'll find her on Twitter
Yep.
too. And she's all over the activity library too. Yes, Jill, the K2 communication webinar is available as a recording. It's probably already on YouTube. I kind of can't remember. Let me see if I can find the link real fast and paste it in for you if it is. And yeah, I mean, you could just still go to that. When you look at our list of PD, just click on that one and it should open the recording, but it's probably up on YouTube as well. And Angela did a really thorough job talking about using the messaging and the announcements and how that's different from just posting to the journal. And I thought that was a really helpful way to delineate that too. Yes, Marcia, hi. All the slides are coming your way in a couple of hours, and the recording and also a PD certificate. So you automatically get those in your email anytime you register for a webinar. Lots of thanks coming in, Michelle. So as I'm scrolling through the questions, a lot of it is, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, I thank all of you. I learn from everybody. If you are not on the Seesaw first grade Facebook page, join us. There's always good things coming through that. Twitter as well. If you are in the Twitter community, there's activities coming through. I know there was a great one that just came through today with sight words, and I think she had activities created for tons of sight words. So it's just great to have such an awesome community of teachers.
I think so too, you know, and like there's just new things, even though you think you know everything about Seesaw. I'm not saying that everyone thinks that, but you know, I've been around Seesaw for a long time and I still learn something new all the time or see some innovative way to use it. Teresa is asking for a little more clarification about how you use Epic and Seesaw together.
So if you've seen any book snaps before, for example, if let's say a student is reading an information book and you're talking about text features, so you could have them take a screenshot with your device of the page in the book and then bring that into Seesaw through the camera roll. And then once it's in Seesaw, you can do your annotations, you can add text. They could even just use the microphone and talk about the different text features that they've had. So that's a really easy way to do it with text features. But it could even just be maybe they're taking a picture of their favorite part. They're bringing that into Seesaw through the camera roll, and they're talking about that, what they learned. You know, maybe they're doing a retelling, things of that nature. So it's just basically taking a screenshot of a picture and then bringing it into Seesaw to be able to use all those awesome tools that they have.
Okay, good. That was great clarification. Christina is saying off the top, can you think of other authors you recommend from the library? And the thing I was going to say is we're actively sending out a lot of that on our social media channels. So if you're in the Facebook first grade teachers group or on Twitter, you're going to see a lot of really specific references to first grade activities. You know, I know Bobby Hopkins shares a lot related to global read aloud books, and we have a webinar about that coming up soon. But just in the activity library, be sure to filter by grade and by subject, because you can filter to first grade and then you can look for whatever subject you want, or you can search by keyword. So hopefully if there's something you're looking for, you can find it. But did you have someone else? I kind of interrupted you, Michelle, probably.
The one person I was just referring to that I just saw yesterday put all the sight word activities is Heather Hansen, Hansen. And she just had tons. And then she even, bless her heart, she's like, if there's a word that you do not see, let me know and she can add more. I mean, do you not love when teachers are so giving? I love it. So yeah, she's one for sure that pops into my head just because I saw that yesterday.
I know, I remember that one too, and I was just thinking that that was her name too. I didn't want to misquote it, but I think you were exactly right. And she had some awesome activities that she shared. You're so right. So Janelle is asking, like, do you ever have a parent like opt out, like they sign some technology form for your school, or they sign something that says like they can't share their work on Seesaw? I mean, I can clarify from a privacy perspective that Seesaw is COPA, FERPA, and GDPR compliant. So we have a lot of resources available at web.seesaw.me/privacy that explains all of that in really great detail, and even has some printables if you needed to print that to hand to someone. I don't know, do you ever have parents opt out of that?
Well, I know we have kind of like a blanket letter for opting out for our district. And usually, like, if I have parents that sign, you know, that they don't want video or photo or whatever, for that, I usually contact them again and just explain, you know, how we use Seesaw and how that might be a little different than what they're thinking. Like, I think sometimes when parents sign that, it's because they don't want things in the newspaper or on TV or things like that. And this is, you know, just really specific to the parent and they have that account. So I think just explaining it that way, and usually I haven't had any issues that way. So even if they have that opt out, I don't think that it hurts to just have that conversation and see if they're okay with Seesaw for their student.
And yeah, I think that's great. And Janelle says that that's how they've handled it too in the past. We just have lots of information available for families. So if they have concerns, they usually find those answered and resolved, you know, in the way that we explain it. So that's web.seesaw.me/privacy. Michelle is asking if the account is username and password protected. I'm assuming she means for kids to log into Seesaw. So kids don't really have passwords unless they're logging in with email or Google, which I'm imagining they're not if they're in first grade. So they're logging in with a QR code that is not really shared. Michelle, family members and parents create their own accounts. So we don't have any control over that. They set up their own accounts, either in the family app or at app.seesaw.me. So they choose their name and their own password and they log in and they have their own account settings. So, you know, they have to connect to their kids' unique journal code.
Oh, and kind of talking about connecting, because this is the first year that that I kind of mentioned to families about if there's a grandparent that wants to sign in and log into their grandchild's journal. So this year I have a mom, dad, divorced family, and then also a grandparent that is logged into the child's journal. So I just think like that's such a neat thing to see how it can spread to more family members. And what a neat thing for students. So yeah, so you always on your end, either you're giving them that QR code that's specific to that student, or if they do it through the email, then you're still approving. So, I mean, it's pretty safe with that, that you know who's looking at whose journal.
Absolutely. And once you print that QR code invitation, 10 family members can connect to that. So it's pretty rare probably that a kid would have 10 connected family members, but you would at least have that option and you would not have to generate new invitations or codes. Janelle says she does have some grandparents and family members connected at her students. So that's cool. It's neat that it's working that way. Michelle, I think we're winding down with questions. That was a great presentation. Reminder to everyone, the slides and the recording are coming your way soon, along with a certificate to document that you were here for PD. I hope you can join us here again really soon. It was so informative and I loved being here. Thank you so much, Michelle.
All right, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.